wealth and this magnificent view.
Couldn't agree more.
May our kingdoms prosper as beautifully as the stars.
John chapter 14. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also.
Because see, we're going to have these different nations in slavery, not only on the earth, but also on other planets. That's the glory of the kingdom. We're going to have servants on other planets. We're going to colonize other planets. All right? We're going to expand. You think about this truth, you think about the gospel, you think about the plan of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Hey, you got that one song by Drake, God's Plan. When you think about God's plan, it's going to take place on the earth. There's really a blueprint for what's going to happen all throughout the entire universe. For all throughout the entire universe. What we're doing is a part of a blueprint. You know, like this truth is a franchise, and it's going to branch out. It's going to expand all throughout the universe, man. To distant galaxies, you know. So don't be surprised, you know, you brother, the hopeful elect, the Lord give you your own galaxy or your own planet, own planets, and you colonize them, and you implement the laws, statutes, and commandments on them, and you're going to have servants on these planets. All right?
John chapter 14. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also.
Wealth and this magnificent view.
Couldn't agree more.
May our kingdoms prosper as beautifully as the stars.
All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation, hopefully, after pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds, in the name of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg of believers and listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. All right, we're the brother GMS Mississippi Camp, and what we want to get into today, you know, dealing with Jake was never a part of the play. All right, when you think of this thing called America, all right, well, America was never intended, all right, for you Jakes to thrive. Okay, and as we fast forward things today, all right, and Jake has got extremely comfortable because of convenience. Okay, but you look at, you know, the wealth gap, all right, as far as nation building, okay, Jake is dead last in every category still. Okay, and just because you got a few niggas, you know, with money, you know, that Esau wave in your face, put on music videos, and most of them, you know, really don't have money or just the illusion of having money. You know, it's all witchcraft to make it seem as if you Israelites are a part, you know, are part of the American, all right, system. Okay, but outside of labor, okay, and entertainment, okay, that's the only true role you Jakes play. You don't have no power. Okay, like I say, you have no generational wealth. Okay, you have nothing that's building your nation up. Okay, niggas don't invent nothing anymore. Okay, niggas ain't invented nothing since the 80s. Okay, so we're gonna go into the book of Amos, chapter 1 and 11, and then we got a video we want to go into because I did the video the other day going into the New Deal, dealing with Franklin, all right, Roosevelt, FDR, and that New Deal was for Edomites. It was a roadmap, a blueprint for Edomites to get the middle class. All right, you Jakes wasn't a part of that deal. Okay, and when you Jakes did, make something out of nothing. All right, what did Esau do, man? He came in with the sword. All right, so at the end of the day, our people have to understand that the so-called white man, no matter, and even that whole Martin Luther King was an illusion. Okay, for you to idolize the so-called white man as the standard of living. Okay, that was Jake's, goal in life, to get equal with the so-called white man, and you made it. You accomplished something. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jake kicking and clawing to get in neighborhoods with Edomites. Okay, to eat with Edomites. Okay, or people that hate you, man. They never stop hating you, man. And racism went from chattel slavery to systemic slavery. Okay, but it was still a form of slavery, man, and it was still a form of oppression and hatred to you Israelites, man. You get the Amos 1 and 11.
Like you said too, bro. Bible Shah, I may, Jake always trying to get, Jake move in the city, Esau move to the country. Esau moved to Jake trying to move to the country. Esau go back to the city. So just like you said, like Jake always want to be around somebody that hate him. It's the Amos 1 and 11. It says, "Thus said the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with a sword, and did cast away all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually."
Yeah, tear perpetually.
Throughout it. His anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever.
Yeah, he kept his wrath forever, and perpetually goes into continuing ongoing. So this devil has had to continue. There was never a time where he let up on niggas, man. Okay, civil rights wasn't, all right, Esau letting up on you niggas, man. Okay, that was just him, all right, giving you this illusion, okay, of inclusion. Okay, you see? Matter of fact, let's get that definition of illusion of conclusion. Okay, because that's, all right, what Jake, is stuck on. Talking about some black excellence. You niggas haven't done anything excellent, okay, in America, man. All right, since the 30s and 40s. Okay, the 60s and 70s, they started to go downhill, man. Okay, so let's get that definition.
This illusion of conclusion, it says, refers to the misleading perception that a problem or situation has been resolved or understood, when in reality there's a failure to grasp the full picture.
Yeah, and civil rights, this whole marching, and you Jakes getting the right to vote, and okay, you Jakes being able to be judges and politicians, and you niggas can go to college now. You see, there wasn't Esau including you niggas into the play. All right, when he integrated, all right, you Jakes into his society, all right, that was all a psyop, man. Okay, so now when you talk to Jake talks like he has the same opportunity as everyone else. No. Okay. You go back to that.
Illusion of conclusion.
Yeah.
Or the rest of it.
Yeah. Keep going.
It says, recognize contradictions or achieve true comprehension.
Yeah. So Jake can't recognize the contradictions in this system. Okay. Here it is. All right. They give you government assistance. They give the woman government assistance, but the man can't be there. So how the hell is he trying to help you if he doesn't support you having a 2-parent household? Okay, see, Jake don't see the contradictions. It's all an illusion. Okay? Here it is. These niggas, Esau get these niggas platinum record deals. The niggas, NBA young boys, they give you these niggas and they say this nigga the Michael Jackson. But then they arrest you for everything that this nigga tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
They got a task force for everything this nigga tell you to do. Okay? Or the ATF. What the ATF stand for?
It's
Firearms, what is it?
alcohol, tobacco, and
Yeah.
firearms.
Yeah. The DEA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Drug Enforcement Agency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? FBI.
Federal Bureau.
You see? U.S. Marshal. So this nigga got a task force for everything that these niggas tell you to do. But you see NBA YoungBoy as this, icon, this rich nigga. And millions of niggas think I can get that too, man. No, it's an illusion. It's more than likely you're gonna go to prison. That nigga went to prison. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump pardoned the nigga, man.
Just want to get out.
Yeah, so Jake don't see the contradiction in everything that Esau do, and Esau give them as some type of outlet of poverty, but Jake don't see the contradiction to it, man. Okay? So yeah, you got it, bro.
Come on, let me keep reading.
Yeah.
It says it is a type of cognitive illusion where a false sense of finality is created.
Yeah, you niggas thought civil rights, racism is over. Free at last. What them niggas was saying? Free at last. Thank God Almighty.
No, free at last.
Yeah. You see? You thought it was that was the grand finale. Okay, go ahead.
Come on. It says often due to insufficient information, cognitive bias, or a superficial understanding.
Yeah, superficial understanding is not real. Okay, how you Jakes think the world works is not real. Okay, how most people, especially in America, think the world works is not real. Okay, but there's no one that's more behind than you Israelites, man. So let's go ahead and get to the video, and then we'll get some more precepts. So this video, he's just going to go throughout, he's going to go from chattel slavery and bring it all the way up to today, man. How there's just been nothing but systemic, all right, racism, okay, and intentional poverty for you Israelites, man. Okay, and even when you do beat the odds, man, all right, what Smokey say? I won. Give my money. You what? I lost.
What Debo?
Yeah, that's how Esau do you niggas, man. So you niggas can't even win when you win.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Imagine you're forced to play a high-stakes game of Monopoly. Except in this game, the rules were secretly written against you from the very start, before you were even allowed to sit at the table. For the first 250 rounds, you're not a player. You can't roll the dice. You can't pass go. You can't own property. In fact, you are property. You are a game piece, a pawn belonging to another player, and your only purpose is to make them rich, building their empire, hotels, and railroads on your back. Then, for the next 100 rounds, you're finally handed a token and allowed to play, but the rule book is still rigged. You're banned from buying property on Boardwalk and Park Place, the best neighborhoods. The bank, which is run by the other players, won't give you loans to build houses. And anytime you manage to build a little momentum, string a few properties together, the other players can invoke special, unwritten rules that apply only to you. They can send you directly to jail, confiscate your properties, and force you to start all over again with nothing. How can you win that game? You can't. It's not a game of chance or skill. It's fixed. This isn't a game. This is a story of how America built its black poverty machine. This wasn't a bug in the system, an unfortunate glitch. It was the system itself. This wasn't a series of unlucky breaks or personal failures, but the careful, deliberate construction of a powerful economic engine designed over centuries with massive, interlocking gears of policy, violence, and exclusion, all meticulously calibrated for one specific output: a racial wealth gap so vast it's hard to wrap your head around. Today, the median net worth of a white family in America is staggering compared to a black family's. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent data from 2022, the typical white household held $285,000 in wealth. The typical black household, just $44,900. That's a gap of over $240,000. It's like one player has a stack of cash and a board full of hotels, while the other has a few crumpled bills. For every dollar wealth a white family has, a black family is just under 16 cents. This isn't the result of a few bad decades. It is a calculated end product of a machine that's been running for 400 years. To understand poverty in Black America today, we have to stop looking for faults in the player and start looking at the blueprints of the game itself. Every machine needs a power source. America's economic machine, in its early days, was powered by the brutal efficiency of chattel slavery. For 246 years, Black people weren't just shut out of the economic game. They were the game's fuel. They were the capital, the living assets in ledger books, the human collateral for loans. They were the engine of fortunes built on cotton, tobacco, and sugar. By 1860, the monetary value of the 4 million enslaved people in the U.S. was worth more than all the nation's factories, railroads, and banks combined. It was the single largest financial asset in the entire American economy. This system didn't.
Yeah, so he just told you that the 4 million black slaves, that their value was more than the nation's whole economy, man. Okay, so Jake was a major asset. Okay, when it came to Esau's come up over here in the West, man, especially here in America, man. Okay, so these Edomites, with their pseudoscience, their scientific racism, okay, they always talk about, how, what the manifest destination. God damn.
I said, damn.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, show them numbers, man. And this show, and see, the devil don't go into that. Yeah, let's pull them numbers up, man.
I got this Bible for me. It's a lot, bro. That threw me for a loop.
Yeah, read that, man.
I just looked it up, in the spirit. Quick Google search: 4 million black slave asset worth in dollars today. It says calculating the modern day worth of enslaved people is impossible and unethical, as human lives have no monetary value. However, economists have used different methods to estimate the value, the financial losses and unjust gains associated with chattel slavery, which in 1860 included roughly 4 million enslaved people.
Go ahead.
One of the most frequently cited estimates of the market valuation is up to 42 trillion based on data from 1860.
Yeah, 42 trillion. Okay, $42 trillion, and that's our 4 million Jakes, man. And that shows you the productivity of Jake, because they'll say Jake was lazy. And you gotta think, Jake was inventing a lot of things in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Jake was inventing a lot of things, man. Okay, but then you had these guys, like you got Captain Kirk, all right, CK, this guy, Matt Walsh, and, these Edomites have pushed this, scientific racism, like Jake is just a natural born criminal. No, Jake is the most valuable thing, okay, on the planet. Matter of fact, even the scriptures, get that real quick in Lamentations 4:1. And that's why when you and we're gonna get that in Jeremiah too, because when they were these heathens would enslave Jake, okay, Jake will add value to their kingdom. And going back to the Assyrians, the Babylonians, all right, Tobit was in the courts of the king. His nephew was in the courts of the king. When you go into that history, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joseph, second in command in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nehemiah was a cupbearer, man. Okay, you go into Daniel, pretty much the hand of, multiple kings from the Babylonians all the way to the Medo-Persian Empire, man.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're gonna jump through some history. Read that.
From our brother, we were in the lesson a few months ago. Every significant invention that led to something today was created by Jake.
Mm-hmm.
You said 4:1.
Yep.
Lamentations 4, chapter 1. So like Lamentations chapter 4, verse 1. It says, How is the gold become dim?
Yep.
How is the most fine gold
He
changed?
said the most fine gold. Because the Israelite nation, Israelite man and woman, because the Israelite woman, her right order, hey, that's a valuable asset to a family, man. Go ahead.
It says the stones of the sanctuary are poured out on the top of every street.
Yep, go ahead.
The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earth pictures, the work of the hands of the potter?
Yeah, so it said the precious sons of Zion, as you know, we're talking about the people. All right, and Jake lost their value when they went into what? Idolatry. When they integrated with the heathen and started participating in heathen customs. That's when Jake lost their value. In America, when did Jake really start to lose their value? When they integrated with Esau. Okay, when Jake had their own thing going, Jake was thriving. It's going to get into, man. Okay, and we always thrive throughout every captivity we went into. We added value to the heathen, and you always had certain Jakes that would rise to prominence, mainly, men of the Lord. So let's get that in the book of Daniel chapter 1.
Daniel.
Yeah, get Daniel 1. All right. Now this is, and we're gonna show you. Now this was during the time of Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel, had to be around like 17 at this point. All right, you got it, bro.
This is Daniel 1:1. It says, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it.
Yep.
And the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of the Most High, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels to the treasure to the house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and princes.
Go ahead. So now Nebuchadnezzar, has tasked his his royal official, his eunuch, to round up, the nobility of Israel. Okay, go ahead.
Gone. Verse 4. Children in whom was not blemished and well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Yeah, so they went and got the nobility of Jake, and those men that were skilled in all wisdom and science and all knowledge and understanding, all right, because they will be of use, okay, to the kingdom of Babylon, okay, because when you conquer a nation, well, you need to know the history of their nation, the inner workings of their nations, and Jake had them skill sets, man, to help, to run the kingdom. Okay, so now let's go to in the Apocrypha, let's go to Baal and the Dragon. Okay, let's go to Baal and the Dragon. Let's get I'm thinking number 1 chapter, but started chapter 1 verse 1. So let's go to Baal and the Dragon, man. But remember, this was young Daniel that went into captivity. Daniel was in that batch that went captive. So read that.
Start at 1.
You started 1.
This is Baal and the Dragon, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, and King Astyages was gathered to his fathers, and Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom.
Go ahead.
And Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends.
Wait a minute, says that Daniel was honored above all the king's friends. Remember, Daniel was in captivity. Okay, but he had a high office by this time because he was president, in Babylon, and then when Medo-Persia took down Babylon, okay, he was under Darius, okay, and then eventually he was under Cyrus, man. Okay, he was under Darius the Mede, and then he went to Cyrus. So Daniel, all right, was highly valued, okay, amongst these heathen kings, man. All right, for what? His wisdom,
Mhm.
But that shows you 4 million black slaves, you know, their productivity was worth $42 trillion today, man. Okay? And niggas so sorry now. I know that's plummeted, man. 4 million niggas today. Okay? It's probably worth 2,000, you know,
Oh, good
2,800,
day.
yeah,
On Monday
2,800,
morning.
yeah. Niggas are trash today, you know, but hey, back then, you know, but that was it on that. You can go back to the video, bro.
Come.
Yeah, that was a good find on that. 42 trillion, that's crazy. Bro.
Dang.
And just deny black people wages for their work. It was an economic black hole, systematically extracting the value of their labor, their families, and their futures to create immense wealth for others. The starting whistle blew, but one group was chained to the starting block, forced to carry the other runners on their shoulders down the track. Then came the Civil War and a promise, emancipation. For a brief, flickering moment during Reconstruction, it seemed like the machine might be dismantled. The most famous promise of this era was 40 acres and a mule. In 1865, General William T. Sherman Special Field Order Number 15 set aside 400,000 acres of coastal land for the exclusive settlement of formerly enslaved families. This wasn't a handout. It was a player's long overdue starting capital. It was a vision for economic justice, an acknowledgement that after centuries of unpaid labor, you couldn't just say you're free and expect a fair outcome. Land ownership was the primary foundation of American wealth. Granting this land would have given black families the one thing they needed most, an asset, a starting point to finally play the game. The promise was shattered in less than a year. After Lincoln's assassination, President Andrew Johnson, a sympathizer to the Southern planter class, acted like a casino boss changing the rules mid-hand. He overturned Sherman's order and returned the land to former Confederates. The 40,000 or so freedmen who had started new lives were evicted, often by the very men who had once enslaved them. The dream of 40 acres and a mule died, and with it, the most significant chance Black America had for an economic foothold. This betrayal was compounded by another disaster, the collapse of Freedmen's Savings Bank. Chartered in 1865, the bank was meant to be a secure vault for the first generation of Black savers. Tens of thousands of Black individuals and organizations, with incredible faith, entrusted their life savings to it. But the bank's white trustees ran it like their own private slush fund, engaging in rampant mismanagement and fraud. When it failed in 1874, it was like the game's official banker had simply stolen all of one player's money. The entire accumulated capital of a generation was wiped out, the equivalent of tens of millions of dollars today. The failure bred a deep, justifiable mistrust of financial institutions that would echo for generations.
See,
There you go.
this devil took a whole generation of wealth from Jake, man. But see, it was meant, we have to understand, because matter of fact, get the curses, and then we'll go back to it. See, it wasn't meant for Jake, to come up in America. We'll get that in the curse, and then we'll get that in Michael 2 and 10 as well. Then we'll go back to it. But yeah, man, Jake, trusted their money to a bank, which that's gonna play a part later on down the line. How Jake was able to dodge, the Great Depression, because Jake didn't fool with banks after that. Because the people that lost everything had their money in banks. Okay, so let's go to jump to verse 29.
Let me read the.
Oh, you can read that one.
Come. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 15. It says, "It shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord, Yahweh Shema shall thy power, to observe and do all of his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee."
Yeah, so we get on Esau, he wicked. But Esau playing this part. And see what we tell our people, okay? And this is how we know who we are, because of the curses, man.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we can see, okay, we are cursed people. Like, we go into these histories and like, God damn, and it line up with all the curses of Deuteronomy 28.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we tell our people, this was a punishment for disobedience. Okay, and this ain't our rest, man. Look, we got a kingdom to come, but you got Jake that's still on this hamster wheel, and they still running with this illusion of conclusion. Okay, you see, like you're included.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there's an illusion of inclusion. You keep running with that and thinking that you have some type of part, or you gonna be that nigga that
The one nigga that
yeah, to break the curse. Nigga think that he is one nigga in his bank, gonna break the curse. No, man. It's a spiritual, man, until Yahweh Shai comes back. Okay, the beautiful thing about the truth, the curses ain't so heavy, man, because we begin to operate, in wisdom. We begin to don't have an expectation here. First off, not having an expectation here, it takes a burden off us, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you got it, bro.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 29. It says, and thou shalt grope in the noonday, as the blind grope in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. You see, the Lord was all right, working through Esau, man, on the left hand side to make sure we didn't prosper, man, as a nation, because it wasn't meant for this captivity. You see? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. It says, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee.
Oppressed and spoiled evermore, no man shall save thee, man. And that's why all these leaders that will pop up, they made no progress in getting Jake out of the situation they was in. Okay.
You're gonna jump down to 44. Come back.
You jump down.
This is
matter of fact,
he's gonna bring it out.
Yeah. Hold it. Then we will.
You wanna go back to Michael?
Yeah, get that Micah 2 and 10. Then we're gonna go back to Deuteronomy.
This is Micah chapter 2, verse 10. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction.
Yeah, you Israelites got to come out of that fantasy, of thinking that you're going to create generational wealth, okay? That you're going to be the one, that do what you got Jake saying, but I'm going to be the first millionaire in my family, which that's cool, ain't nothing wrong, all right, with making moves, but at the same time, when you thinking that you're going to establish some type of legacy, and you're thinking that you're going to pass something down for your children to build on, not going to happen, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because while you out here hustling and killing yourself, all right, trying to get this money, you chasing this money, you occupied with chasing money, guess what? NBA Youngboy raising your son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So when you do get the bag and you get it to this nigga, it's over. You see? So, this ain't our rest, man. This ain't the place for us to build. That's why it never worked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it never worked. You see, and niggas haven't got nowhere near close to a Black Wall Street yet. Okay, that was 100 years ago. You see, so no, Esau, the Lord got set up, man. Well, Esau not gonna let his foot off you niggas' neck, man. You go back to
the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at what you looking at.
With the door to land ownership slammed shut and their savings vaporized, most Black people in the South had no choice but to return to the plantations. This gave rise to sharecropping, a new gear in the poverty machine that was like slavery with extra steps. White landowners would lease land to a Black family for a huge shared crop, often 50% or more. The landowner also controlled the company's store, selling seeds and food on credit at insane interest rates. It was like being forced to run on a treadmill. You were always working, always sweating, but you never moved an inch forward. At the end of the year, the sharecropper almost always ended up with nothing, or worse, deeper in debt. It was a closed loop of debt peonage, perfectly designed to ensure a permanent, cheap labor force. The machine was now fully recalibrated for a post-slavery world. As America entered the 20th century, the Black poverty machine was about to get a series of powerful, nationwide upgrades. These weren't just local customs anymore. These were federal policies and institutionalized practices that would systematically block Black wealth creation on a national scale. First, There was the brutal operating system of the South. Jim Crow. This was more than separate water fountains. It was a comprehensive system of economic terror, like a malicious software code running in the background of society. It was a web of laws and violent customs that locked Black people out of skilled jobs, confining them to menial labor. The unwritten rule was last hired, first fired. Any Black person who achieved a bit of economic success, a thriving business, productive land, was seen as a threat and became a target. The massacres in places like Wilmington in 1898 and Tulsa in 1921 weren't random riots. They were acts of economic ethnic cleansing, like a furious player flipping the entire game board over because you were starting to win. Prosperous Black Wall Streets were burned to the ground, their accumulated wealth destroyed, sending a chilling message. Black success will be met with violence. When the Great Depression hit, it was a catastrophe for everyone, but an apocalypse.
Yeah, so when you go into it, so Jake, get out of chattel slavery. Okay. They was expecting, to get that land. What happened? The Lord had Lincoln assassinated. That didn't fall through. All right. Jake back to square one. Jake had a bank that they was entrusting their wealth into. Okay. What happened? Esau took that. All right. Jake back to square one. All right. And then after that, even after all that, Jake still managed to build thriving, communities and cities. Okay. In America, man. Okay. And what happened? You see, Esau just came in and got violent. See, Black Wall Street was just one of many. Okay. And Esau just came in. Okay. And, destroyed it, man. He put cities on the water. Okay. He bombed Black Wall Street. He ran interstates through Black communities, made Jake have to move. Okay. So this devil, all right, after all that, Jake still came up. Guess what? The Lord put Jake right back at square one. Okay. And you haven't seen any more, all right, Black Wall Streets pop up since, man. Okay.
Let me get that word. Let's start the video.
You start the video.
For Black America. While the national unemployment rate hit 25%, for Black Americans, it was 50% or higher. In came FDR's New Deal, a lifeline for many Americans that helped build the modern middle class. But for Black Americans, it was often a raw deal. To pass his legislation, FDR needed the votes of powerful Southern segregationists, and he consistently sacrificed Black interests to get them. As a result, most New Deal programs were built with discriminatory loopholes. The Agricultural Adjustment Act sent relief checks to white landowners who were supposed to share them with their Black sharecroppers. They rarely did, instead evicting over 100,000 Black families. The Social Security Act of 1935, the bedrock of our social safety net, was like weaving a massive safety net, but deliberately cutting a giant hole in it. It explicitly excluded agricultural and domestic workers, the two sectors where over 60% of Black Americans worked. This single decision denied millions access to unemployment insurance and old age pensions, benefits that became a foundation of economic security for white families. Of all the 20th century gears, none was more powerful than the one that.
So yeah, just to show you, like we said, we went into the New Deal. That New Deal was for Edomites. You go, because we went into that lesson the other day. You want to, look it up, because even now, it's about the rich and the poor. It's not even about Jacob and Esau with these elites. Of course, there's an emphasis on Jake, but as far as who he's excluding, from wealth in his New World Order, well, now it's only a certain amount of families of the elites, all right, that are included, okay, in the money grab, all right. But FDR, okay, he did give, you Edomites, a path, to middle class with the New Deal and all the perks that came with it. But see, that was intentionally for Edomites. It wasn't for Jake. Okay, so Jake missed out again. You see, 1935, Jake missed out again. Tulsa, Oklahoma, I think that was in the 1920s. Okay, so a decade, some change later. Jake missed out again. Okay, you got it, bro.
Denied access to homeownership, the single greatest engine for building wealth for the average American family. In the 1930s, the federal government got into the business of making homeownership accessible, but it did so by deliberately excluding Black people. This was the birth of redlining. The government became a national real estate appraiser, creating color-coded maps of every city. Neighborhoods were graded through D. Green A neighborhoods were deemed lowest risk, are almost exclusively new, all-white suburbs. Red D neighborhoods were labeled hazardous. The government's own manuals were shockingly explicit. The presence of even one Black family was enough to downgrade a neighborhood to red. The Federal Housing Administration, FHA, would then refuse to insure mortgages in these redline communities. No insurance meant no bank loans. This policy starved Black communities of capital, making it nearly impossible to buy a home or even get a loan to fix a leaky roof. At the exact same time, the FHA was using taxpayer money to subsidize the construction of massive new suburbs like Levittown on the explicit condition that the homes be sold only to white people. The government was acting as an architect of inequality, simultaneously building the white middle class while drawing a red line around Black communities, trapping them in declining urban centers and cutting them off from the most important path to wealth. The long-term effects are still with us. Studies show homeowners in formerly redline neighborhoods have gained significantly less in home equity than those in non-redline areas. After World War II, the GI Bill was a jackpot of opportunity, rewarding returning veterans with college tuition, low-interest home loans, and business loans. It's credited with creating the modern American middle class, a middle class that was, by design, overwhelmingly white. Over 1.2 million Black soldiers served honorably, yet they were systematically denied these benefits. The law was administered locally, often by an all-white Veterans Administration. It was like a national lottery where Black veterans were told their tickets were valid, but the prize booths in their neighborhoods were always mysteriously closed. In the Jim Crow South, and in many parts of the North, their applications were denied. The home loans were useless because of redlining. Black veterans who wanted to go to college found that the few historically Black colleges were overwhelmed, and white universities wouldn't admit them. Of the first 67,000 mortgages insured by the GI Bill in the New York suburbs, fewer than 100 were for non-white veterans. The GI Bill became another devastating missed opportunity, widening the very wealth gap it could have helped close. By the late 1960s, the civil rights movement made legal exclusion harder. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 outlawed redlining, but the machine didn't break down. It adapted. Its programming was updated from blunt force to surgical precision. It shifted from total exclusion to a more insidious strategy, predatory inclusion. Now that it was illegal to refuse to lend,
You had, the system of redlining, to where not only, Jake wasn't able to get, home loans, but if a neighborhood, if you move Jake into a neighborhood, the property value would drop, which it goes back to the civil rights shit, to making it seem like being around Esau was some type of salvation, being able to move in the Edomite neighborhood. All right, which there was a psychological operation on Jake, man. Jake was barely segregated, man. Okay, but still in all, it was nothing but another scheme to put Jake right back at square one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you have what you call predatory lending. Okay, to where they target Jake. Okay, and get Jake caught up in this forever debt. To where not only did it went from Jake dying with nothing to now Jake dying and passing debt on. Okay, you see, this devil has this thing set up systematically. Look at that word, systemic.
Systemic.
Yeah, systemic.
I'll look at it real quick. Let me go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah, you can do.
This is the word systemic on Google.
Mm-hmm.
It says related to a system, especially as opposed to a particular part. It says denoting the part of the circulatory system concerned with the transportation of oxygen.
No, that's something else. What does it say?
Systemic.
Systemic. Let me see. Go down. See, there's a meaning. Go down some more. What does it mean? Something. Yeah, go to. There's a meaning or something. Systemic. Yep. No, read that.
This is what does it mean if something is systemic? It says systemic describes something that pertains to or affects an entire system, such as the whole body or a complex organization, rather than just a single part.
Yeah. So Esau has been systemic. Okay, with keeping Jake, all right, destroyed. You know, feminism, that was systemic. Okay, the crack epidemic, that was systemic. You see, gangster music, okay, rap culture, all this shit was systemic. Okay, consumerism, all these things were systemic. Okay, to keep Jake, all right, on their hamster wheel, man. No progress. Okay, and Esau systemically did these things, man. Okay, so you go back to the
video.
Yeah.
Speculators moved in. This was like a mousetrap baited with the cheese of opportunity. Instead of being denied credit, Black families were targeted for the most exploitative loans imaginable. In cities like Chicago, families unable to get a traditional mortgage were offered contracts for houses at inflated prices. They made payments but built no equity, like tenants. If they missed one payment, the trap would spring. They could be evicted, losing everything. This predatory model hit its peak in the run-up to the 2008 financial crisis. Loan officers specifically targeted Black and Latino neighborhoods with toxic subprime mortgages, knowing they were financial time bombs. Studies found that high-income Black borrowers were twice as likely to receive a subprime loan as low-income white borrowers. It was reverse redlining. When the market crashed, a wave of foreclosures disproportionately wiped out Black wealth, in what became the single largest destruction of wealth for communities of color in modern history. The machine had been perfected. For 100 years, it worked by locking Black people out. Now, it had been upgraded to work by letting them in, but only on terms designed to strip away their wealth. After centuries of design and upgrades,
and then just bring it all the way up into the 2000s, so he walked it down, going from chattel slavery until now. So we get a few precepts. You go to the curses, go back to the curses and show you, all right, that ultimately the Lord, okay, that was working. All right, those curses in effect, man. Okay. So this and you look at it, Jake ain't got nothing going to this day. You got it, bro.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, thou shalt not lend to, it's like thou shalt not lend to him.
Yeah, so the stranger, Esau, Edom has gotten very high, and us as a people have gotten very low. So there will be the circumstances that we will be in as Israelites, and these are all tokens, okay, to show who we were. And he's gonna go into it. I'm reading to it.
It says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, thou shalt be the tail.
Yeah, so you got to beg this nigga for a car. Whenever you get a loan, you're begging. Okay, whenever you gotta go get a loan, you're in the position of a beggar, man. Okay, you gotta beg this nigga for a house, beg this nigga for a car, beg this nigga for a job. Okay, so this man is lending you your life. Okay, and this is due to the curses, man. We're not in the position to where we're sovereign power to where we can lend to anyone. We're in a position to where we have to get lended to, because we've been stripped from that, man. Go ahead.
It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
Read verse
4:6.
Yep.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Yeah, so these curses are a sign and a wonder upon us forever. So it's not no coincidence that no matter what Jake tried to do to put themselves in some type of position of sovereignty, autonomy, economic, freedom, okay, that it will be shut down. All right, and you have a few niggas here and there that got money, Jake, a few Jake in the middle class or whatever, but ultimately Jake don't got nothing going on, man. Okay, when you look at it overall as a people, Jake don't have nothing going on. Okay, but on this hamster wheel of Esau Edom, if Jake was never a part of the play, Jake ain't a part of it now. Okay, so let's get that in Sirach, 10. We can end it there. Unless you had something else.
Nah, bro.
Yeah, get that Sirach 10 and 8. And now then we can get that I think that's Sirach 10 and 8. We can get that Psalm 72. We ended in there.
You want to get the shoe shiners?
Nah, don't worry about this. It'll come back around somewhere.
It says Sirach 10 and 8.
Yep.
This Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 verse 8.
Yep.
Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one person to another.
Yeah, from one people to another. Okay, and that people of Esau, okay, is in rulership now, but he's the one that's guilty of unrighteous dealings. And not only with Jake, but with the world. But the Lord is pissed how he done Jake, because Esau took our captivity too far. He did a lot of things that he was just doing too much. Okay, and his devil, all right, it was set up for him, to go too far so he can be judged at the end. And see, this is where we begin to live. See, we finna get the kingdom translated unto us. Okay, not no goddamn loan or low interest rate. Okay, or live in the Edomite neighborhood. Get a house right next to yard, $400,000-$500,000 house, no yard, and you right by Edomite. Okay, and that's your salvation. No, the Lord is finna translate this whole kingdom. Any type of real wealth that Esau has is going to be translated to us. The authority that Esau has been given over the earth is going to be translated to the nation of Israel, beginning with Yahushua, man. Okay, so the Lord finna transition a whole kingdom, all right, to his people. That's why we're not worried about, all right, trying to come up in this world. We do what we got to do. If we can make a move. But we're not. We're not obsessed. Okay, we're trying to establish something here, man. Okay, let's get that in Psalm 72.
Start
at 1.
This is Psalms chapter 72, starting at verse 1. A song for Solomon. Give the king thy judgments, O power, and thy righteousness unto the king's son.
Yeah, ultimately it's talking about Yahushua. Okay. So we know Solomon, okay, is Yahushua. So ultimately this was a psalm to Yahushua, if you can receive it. Okay, go ahead.
It says, he shall judge thy people with righteousness and thy poor with judgment.
Yeah, so Yahushua, he's coming to set everything right. Okay, Esau, even niggas talking about reparation, man. Esau, first off, he's not gonna give you niggas no reparations. Okay, and the reparations, it goes into being repaired. Okay, and Esau can't repair us as a people, man. It's only Yahushua. You got it, bro.
Verse 3, it says, the mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness.
Yeah, and that's the government of Israel. They're going to bring peace to the people of Israel. That's going to be our rest. That's going to be our abundance. Okay? We're just going to have, we're just going to be. Ain't going to be no such thing as checking your bank statement. Okay? Paying a mortgage. No, we're just going to be. We're going to have resources. We're going to have true ownership. Scripture say, what the meek shall inherit the earth, man. Okay? We ain't got to wait on this devil to give us a damn thing. Okay? He's going to be a human resource in the kingdom, man. Go ahead.
Come. It says, he shall judge the poor of the people, he shall save the children of the needy, and shall break the pieces of the oppressor.
And break in pieces.
Break in pieces the oppressor.
Yeah, the oppressor, man. Okay, so he's going to set everything right. All right. The same people that's oppressed in this kingdom, there's a remnant of Jake that's going to be kings in the next kingdom. Okay, there's going to be kings and priests in the next kingdom. And then eventually all our people are going to be, because even 2/3 eventually they're going to come back, and they're going to come back, in power, with their nation in power. Okay, he's going to break in pieces the oppression, man. And that begins with this war, and then that 1,000-year captivity, rigorous captivity, and then he's going to be discarded, man. This damn devil. You see? So that was the point, I just wanted to get into that, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. We're going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers. Peace and blessing, salutations, hopefully, shalom.
Shalom.